Let's start, man.
Yeah,
It's great to have you. Jamie, thanks for coming down.
Yep.
So, how do I say your surname? Do Rego?
Do Rego.
Do Rego.
Yeah.
Okay, Do Rego. That's easier. Fuck, I was going to have trouble saying Do Rego. But anyway, man, funny enough, you walked in the gym the other day, but I was a fan of yours because I'd be watching these unbelievable transformations.
Yeah.
Like, I'm looking at your clients, and then you walked in, I go, I've got to show this guy around the gym. But for those listeners that don't know you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? You know, obviously you grew up in England, but tell us a little bit about your history. Obviously you're a bodybuilder in the 212s. Tell the viewers out there who Jamie is.
Okay, so I grew up in the UK in England. I was there till I was 25, I believe, 26, and then actually relocated to Dubai. Main reason being just business and opportunity was better in Dubai, so I kind of decided to leave the UK, and I've been competing since 2012, so like 14 years, which makes me feel very old. I turned pro at 25, did a couple of pro shows, haven't really hit my mark as a pro yet, but that's the plan in the next few years. And yeah, like last year had a big injury that set me back and kind of made me rethink a lot of things. But yeah, just excited about the future now and what's to come.
Before we get more into it, tell us about the injury, because I was watching you online and you were struggling to eat. You're in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
It was
Scary.
It was scary because it was kind of touch and go, right?
Yeah, so basically last year I was going to do my comeback and do Texas Pro. And 5 weeks out, I actually got an infection in my bicep, which went septic, spread to my kidneys, and put me on the verge of kidney failure. So I didn't really know this was all going on. Like, obviously I was dieting, I was 5 weeks out, so all they asked me, said, oh, do you feel okay? And I was like, yeah, I feel fine. Little did I know that I was septic and, you know, on the verge of kidney failure. And they said, oh, we need to operate on you ASAP to basically clean the wound and stop the infection spreading. So I had an operation on my bicep where they basically sliced down the fascia. They cleaned the infection out. They put me on like 3 different types of antibiotics, pain medications, literally everything you could think about. And it was scary because when I woke up from the operation, the first thing she said to me is, oh, your kidneys might be, like, your kidneys are failing and you might need to go on dialysis. So obviously you can imagine waking up from the operation, that's the first thing you hear. And they said, oh, bodybuilding's over. So can you imagine my head sat in that, just come out of operation? I thought, all I've known is bodybuilding since I started training at 15, so all I've known is bodybuilding since I was 15 years old. My first competition was at 18 years old. So, you know, that's 14 years of competitive bodybuilding and 19 years of training. Yeah. So it was a big, like, shock, and your whole life flashes before your eyes. That's the only way to say it, because you think, what am I going to do? Where do I go from here? So I was in the hospital for 10 days. Luckily, they were able to control the infection. And because I can read blood work, I was like asking for my blood work to see where my kidneys were at. And my kidneys obviously were improving every single day. So, you know, that happened. And I think I spent 10 days in there. And then they told me it'd take about 6 months for me to be recovered. And I think I was back training within like 6 weeks. Because my mindset's like one of those mindsets, whereas if someone tells me I can't do something, I'm going to do the opposite, you know? Like the first thing I did is I said, oh, can I train? And they were like, well, you shouldn't really train, but we can't stop you. And I was like, okay, so then it's not that big of a deal. So, I mean, 2-3 days later, I was in a sling in one arm, doing the left side of my body, training legs. Because in my head, the only way I could come back from something is if I have that mindset of like, okay, like, I'm going to come back from this. I've got to tell myself, you know, that they can tell me that, oh, it might take you 6 months to recover. I'm like, no, I want to show them that it can be 6 weeks. I actually said to the nurse, I said, no, it'll take me like 6 to 10 weeks. Like, watch me, you know what I mean? And literally, I think 6 weeks later, the wound was nearly fully healed. And I actually went to rehab, and the guy was like, your bicep's strong, so just go train as normal. So it was a very interesting part of my life, because, like I said, it makes you rethink a lot of the aspects of bodybuilding. Because back then I probably was a little bit, not reckless, but you don't care as much because you think nothing's going to happen to you. But obviously, when it happens to you, like, oh, okay, it definitely makes me reevaluate and rethink the way I would bodybuild now in the future. So, yeah.
Fuck. You know, it's funny because, you know, as you're turning pro, you've got this one vision, this tunnel vision of where you want to get to.
Yeah, of course.
So I could imagine, you know, especially when you've loved bodybuilding all your life, it is one of those sports where you can do it forever in terms of like looking after yourself, but probably not competing. But, you know, we've seen guys compete in their 60s. It's one of those things you can do for so long. So for you to hear that would have been extremely tough.
Yeah, big time.
Do you think it's become more pivotal now, helping your clients and other individuals? Was it something that, because like you look at every situation where you have to overcome adversity and challenges and you feel like, fuck, this could be the end, but then you come out the other side and it makes you look at things differently. How has it changed things for you?
Just my perspective on the sport. Like, it's weird because, like, especially now that I'm in Australia, I've been in Australia, and things that I took for granted, I don't take for granted anymore. Like, just the ability to walk. Like, I remember when I came out of the operation, I went in at 217 pounds. I came out at 285 pounds because of the saline that they were pumping in my system to try and get rid of the kidney infection, and I actually used a Zimmer frame to walk.
Wow.
So and then I was in a wheelchair to get out of the hospital.
Wow.
So the simple things in life that we take for granted, like the ability to just walk, you know, from A to B, the ability to just like eat food and not be in discomfort, just so many little things that I just don't take for granted. So like now that I'm here, just getting up in the morning and go for a walk on the beach. I wouldn't have done that last year. I'd have been like, hell no, I'm not walking. That's just too much movement for me. It's too much effort. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of things have changed my perspective. Even like the little things of, you know, like back in the day, I maybe wouldn't have been as present in sort of like social situations, family situations. But when you realize, when something like that happens to you, you realize that you can't take life for granted, because I didn't know if I was going to get out of it. I don't know if I'd have survived it. When I heard those words, when I woke up, all I thought was dialysis. Oh God, how long do you have left? You know what I mean? So I didn't really know how to take it. So I think the main thing I've taken away from that is just not taking anything for granted anymore in life. You know, whether it's like relationships, like time with family members, time with friends, and just enjoying every single aspect of bodybuilding now. Like getting back to enjoying the training, getting back to enjoying, you know, the cardio, just the whole process, because we're actually lucky and blessed to be able to do that. There's so many people that can't even eat 6 meals a day or don't have the ability to go train. You know what I mean? I think you kind of get lost when you're trying to constantly chase a goal. You can almost get lost in it. You know what I mean? Because it's crazy, because when we first started bodybuilding, like I first started bodybuilding because I love bodybuilding. It was a hobby. And then it turned into a job. And then the pressure from outside kind of, you know, can consume you, and then you feel like you have to do things. Whereas now it's just changed my perspective, just like, you know what, go back to basics, enjoy the process and do it your way. You know, I almost said to myself as well, I said, you know, if I don't enjoy it anymore, I'm just going to stop, because there's just no point. I'm not going to go through life not enjoying something, you know?
And bodybuilding is one of those sports where it's almost unlike many sports, right?
Yeah,
it's
100%.
like it's 24/7, and which people don't realize. And the reason being is you got to train at a certain time, you got to eat at a certain time. You can't stay out. You got to be able to put those extra gains, and so you miss out on so much. It's not like, say, rugby or rugby league or any other sport where you can go out and you can eat whatever you want. Bodybuilding, you've almost got to push everything to the side and forget about your whole life and invest everything into that one sport. To, if you want, like for instance, you want to be a pro bodybuilder and compete in the 212, like nothing else matters.
Literally.
And now it's taken you the crisis of being sick and possibly having kidney failure to realize, hey, I've got to balance this whole thing out right now.
Definitely, yeah.
How many people do you see, like in the bodybuilding space, even in the influencer space, where they've almost pushed everyone to the side and gone, I'm going to just be around these people only?
Yeah. I think we all have been guilty of that at one, you know, point in our lives. But it's it's hard because obviously as you grow up, you kind of realize that there is a need for balance. Like I totally understand, like if you want to be elite at any single level, any single sport, then you do have to make sacrifices. And balance isn't that, like balance has to take a back seat.
That's right.
But the thing with bodybuilding is like, yes, it revolves around everything you do on a 24/7 basis, but you still have sort of phases where in the off season you can relax a little bit more. In prep, obviously you've got to be strict, but it doesn't stop you going out. It doesn't stop you, like, for example, in the off season, I'm super relaxed now. I never used to be, but the way I have to approach my off season now is totally different than how I would have approached it 5 years ago, because I'd overthink every single aspect. I'd be like, oh, I need to be super strict. But I think this is where like bodybuilding's gone a different way. Whereas back in the day, in the off season, you'd eat a lot of food and train hard, and that was your off season. Like if you look at the guys like Jay Cutler back in the day, Lee Priest used to get well out of shape. All these guys would just eat and train hard, and then all of a sudden, the new generation has totally flipped it and made it so complicated. Like bodybuilding's a super simple sport. Eat a lot, train hard in the off season, you'll grow. In prep, eat a little bit less, train hard, move more, and you diet down. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's definitely become a lot more complex. But I think like we're all a little bit like guilty of
Feeding it.
Yeah.
Feeding the beast, like making it worse than what it is. Look, I think there's too much noise in everything. Like you look around, people go, "Oh, should I eat this? What about this? And what about that?" And there's way too much information. So what happens is everyone's trying to absorb all the information, second guessing themselves,
100%.
and almost ruining their chances of getting in shape.
Yeah.
Now, the first and foremost, like with any of your clients, you go, hey, listen, let's work on a base here. Let's work on some foundations. Once we've worked on those foundations and we've got enough discipline, then we can think about competing, right?
Cool.
So they have to go through each process. And through each process, you got to cut out the outside noise. It's like in business, right? It's like, you're running your own business. People are saying to you to do a million different things. And you're going, fuck, man, where do I start here?
Yeah.
And usually the best place to start is what's simple to do right now that I can do and I've got control over.
I'm going with your gut, you know, because like you said, there's so much different bits of information that are free now, which we didn't have back in the day. And it does make you question yourself. I'm guilty of that. Like, I mean, even me recently just trying to get back into bodybuilding, because I actually had 6 months out of bodybuilding. I only started training properly again about 3 weeks ago. So I had 6 months off bodybuilding where I kind of just enjoyed life. I actually thought I was done. I thought, like, I said to myself, I'm retired now. I'm not going to compete anymore. But you know what it's like when you've got that mindset that always wants more. I knew deep down that I'd end up coming back to it, but I felt like I needed a break away from it. And, 3-4 weeks ago, my hunger started coming back. And even then, when I was trying to, like, plan what I was doing, all the outside information, all the noise was affecting me, and I couldn't get in a rhythm. I was like, maybe I should do this. Then I'd speak to someone and say, do this. And then I'd change it, and I did that. And then I was like, it doesn't work. I'm going to go back to this. And sometimes you just need to forget all that. Just go with your instinct, go with your gut, and just do what feels right for you, because all this information out there now, you've got study X and study Y. They both contradict each other. So it's like, what do you believe? Just choose the path that you believe and stick with it, and trust yourself. You know what I mean? Because so many people have said to me, like, why don't you prep yourself? And I've always been like, I know, but I don't think I can prep myself. And I've done it before, like got close, but I never ended up competing. And then after this last few weeks, I thought, you know what, like I'm just going to do it all myself and my way. And more importantly, the way I enjoy, because I'm not going to do this if I don't enjoy it anymore, But I think that's where it's changed massively. The industry is, we have so much free information out there now, and it can get overwhelming, especially for guys who are new to the sport. I mean, even the way you see the younger generation train compared to how we trained back in the day, it's insane,
Well, you look at Dorian Yates, for example. Like in the 90s, he logged everything he'd done. He had a diary. He knew exactly what he was doing for each and every prep. And then he knew, in 92 he dieted too hard. He had that extra size, but he knew that no one was bigger than him. It comes back in 93, much bigger. It changes the sport. But those guys back in those days, they done all their own coaching
Literally.
of themselves. So it shows how dependent we've become
on other people.
Throughout time. What you needed back then was one training partner or someone else to just have a quick look at you, just to tell you where you were.
Yeah.
And you depended on that the training partner
Set
that you
of
had.
eyes, yeah.
Yeah, and so now you've got, you know, a plethora of different things that you have to do in order to get to that next point. I was watching Nathan Diasha and William Bonac compete, and their coach, I forget his name, but
Stefan.
it's Stefan.
Yeah.
And Stefan said in a video, he said, you know, I don't listen to none of the noise, and I tell the boys, don't listen to the noise. What you look like 1 day or 2 days out has no reflection of what we're going to get you to on stage.
Yeah, it's true.
And you almost have to. The hardest thing is these days you have to be on social media to promote yourself, right? Your business. But every time you put a photo up,
Someone's
you get all the
gonna say
people
so, yeah.
that are judging you right away.
It's true.
And you know, if you don't have a strong mind, it does become hard. What I love about like what you've been able to do, obviously with a lot of your clients, and doing what you do is really hard because you're competing and getting people ready for comps.
Yeah.
How challenging is that?
You know what? Like, when I was enjoying competing the most, it was the best thing for me because I would see a lot of it as a challenge. You know what I mean? Like, that was my mindset back then. I would be like, I remember I went to Alicante and I had like 5 pros in it, about 7 amateurs, and I was going to do a show about 4 or 5 weeks later. And the way I approached it was like, I know this is going to be hard. I know this is going to challenge me. So, like, bring it on, you know? I just learned to adapt to the pressure. Like, you know, they say like pressure creates diamonds, right? Like, and that's the way, like, I used to think about it. I would be like, we're privileged to have pressure. Do you know what I mean? And that's when we're going to step up and level up. If there was no pressure, everyone would just go through life like it'd be an easy life. But pressure allows us to grow, allows us to get better. So I used to always take these things and see them as challenges, like of how much they would test me to like level me up as an ability as a coach and also as an athlete, you know, in my mindset. So I kind of enjoyed that part of it, you know. Obviously I haven't competed now for a few years, but I do enjoy the difficulty of it, because, like, for example, if I've got to be at a show, then I might have to train at 10 p.m, which maybe isn't optimal as the new generation would say is optimal, but it gets done. Do you know what I mean? And I just see it as challenges, so it's fun.
Yeah,
it keeps it interesting, you know.
And it's not easy. Like, when people look at what you do as being easy, it's not easy for any pro bodybuilder, essentially, right? And you're putting yourself out there. And to be honest, like, you know, everyone wants to be that online coach, that online trainer that's, you know, making so much money. How hard is people getting that perception of being that person? Because, like, I've been doing this, I've been in the industry for 27 years, owning gyms for 27 years. It doesn't come easy, right? You got to work your butt off. Yeah. How hard have you had to work your butt off to get in the position you have gone into?
I remember when I first started coaching in 2012, I used to charge like probably equivalent of like 100 Australian dollars a month. And if I had anyone that was remotely good, I'd be like, look, I'll help you for free. You know, and I did that for years and years. I was not lucky, but I came into the game at the right time where coaching wasn't really a big thing. Yeah. So I established my name quite young, but now you get a lot of new coaches who are coming into the industry who, one, haven't done any shows. I'm not saying they need to do shows, but they haven't even been in shape, you know? I think that's the thing that's lacking these days, is you've got so many coaches that are telling you to do X, Y, and Z, but they've never done it themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's funny because I actually post it online. Like, I'm like, oh, work with a coach who's been there, done that. And then you always get people saying, oh, but what about Hani Rambod? And I'm like, look, that's an anomaly.
Yeah, but
you know?
he did compete, and he did get his body to its full potential.
Yeah, but that's what I think, that everyone's like, oh yeah, but he's out of shape now. So it doesn't matter. He's still been there.
But even Stefan's got some unbelievable bodybuilding. But you got to remember, they were fans of the sport back in the 90s.
They've watched it like over and over 100%. And over again. So they've still done their time.
Yeah, they've done their time.
They might not have been there and done it like firsthand, but they've done the time where you've got people these days who just turn up, you know, who maybe got in a little bit of decent shape and now they want to coach. They're not putting the groundwork, not putting the time, you know. So I think the main thing is just like with the new style coaches, just put in the graph, like study, like you know, watch the sport, because even
get it around the best coaches for free.
Yeah.
Like just go, hey, can I just be around you for free?
Yeah, I remember back in the day, I prepped with probably most of the top coaches. Like I worked with Chris Aceto for years. That's when I turned pro. I learned so much of Chris. I worked with Fakiri, who used to prep Dennis James back in the day.
Yeah.
Fakiri's still around. He was my first ever coach.
Yeah.
Then went to Chris. I had a small stint with Neil.
Yeah.
I tried to do a small stint with Mios. You know,
You tried?
Yeah, I couldn't. I lasted about 3 days, 3-4 days. Yeah.
Talk off camera on that one.
Yeah. But yeah, literally, I'm AJ Sims as well at some point in the US.
Yeah.
But like, I gained so much knowledge from these top coaches. But I also applied it to bodybuilding. I applied it to real life situations. You know, and I think that's what's increased my knowledge as a coach, because I missed my peak so much when I was doing shows so many times. I know what not to do, you know? And I think that's the big thing now is I know what not to do. And that's why I've had the ability to get it right with so many clients at a top level with peaking, because I know the levels where I've pushed my body way beyond, you know? So it allows you to rein it in for everyone else. So basically where I failed, others won't fail, because I've been there. You know what I mean? I've done that. And that's why I feel like everyone's like, oh, you always peak your clients so well. They always look really good on stage. Like, what do you do? And I'm like, I go off my gut and what my head thinks and what my eyes see. Do you know what I mean? But it's only because I've messed up so many times at that level that I'm able to do that. You know what I mean? So you've got to put like the grafting, you've got to put the trial and error, the ups and downs. You've got to see it all yourself firsthand. I think that's the biggest thing about coaching now is you don't have the guys that have done that. And the guys that have done that, like with Chris is still going.
Yeah, I know.
And Chris is still like creating champions and at amateur level, at pro level, you know what I mean? And you know what it's like with...
And he had Sean Redden too.
And he had
Don't
Sean,
forget,
he had
like,
Kamal.
Yeah.
Like Chris is one of the best in the game, period. And
I
people,
watch RX Muscle all the time. I really do like... I actually like watching them.
And as well, if you ever look at Chris's diet or Chris's approach, the new school would be like, that's so wrong. But it works.
Yeah.
And it works so much better than all this new school stuff.
Yeah.
So that's why like I never try to get too caught up on science these days. I just have my way and I believe in my way and my method. Whereas now every coach gets too invested in the study X, study Y, you know, but then in my opinion, the guys who are still winning shows are still doing the old stuff.
Yeah.
You know? You obviously might get the one or two guys doing the new stuff, but how many of these top pros do push-pull legs?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, fucking hardly any.
I think the only one that might be doing it is like Hunter at the moment.
Yeah, but back in those days, they were just doing proper splits.
Yeah.
You know
And
what I mean?
like, you know, even when you look at the top pros training, they're still doing wide grip lat pull down heavy. They're still doing bent over T-bar rows, but the new school then and go say, oh no, a wide grip pull down's not optimal. Oh, a T-bar
That's all
row's not
bullshit.
optimal.
At the end of the day, force is force, right?
Exactly.
It's force is force. And fair enough, if you've got an injury, like I mean, Dorian Yates was talking about, he stopped doing squats because it affected his hips.
Yeah.
They found a different way to do it.
Yeah.
So if you've got an injury and you have to work around it,
That's like,
but at the end of the day, great bodies were built in the 90s. I mean, look at fucking Kevin Levrone.
The muscle on the back, the density,
100%.
because they did the wide grip pull downs, because they did the heavy bar.
This is just all a luxury.
Yeah, literally.
That's the reality of it all.
It's
right?
like, I was speaking to the owner of Project AD yesterday, and we were saying like, this generation's gone soft. That's all it is.
Yeah, 100%.
It's gone soft. It's not willing to work hard. Like, people want the easiest way out. I remember when I was competing back in the day, when I was like chasing my pro card, this was like what, 2017, 18, 19. I was like, give me the hard way, because that's the way that's going to make me better.
Yeah.
That's the way it's going to level me up. I don't want that easy route. If you say, oh yeah, but you don't have to do cardio this route. You don't have to do cardio, you can do this, you can do this. I'm like, no, I'd rather do the cardio, I'd rather train harder, I'd rather work for it, you know? And I feel like this generation's just gone soft.
Yeah.
Like now, like, if someone's tired in prep, they talk about fatigue management. I'm like, God, like back in the day, we would be like walking like zombies.
Well, back in the day, they weren't even... They were talking about sleep, but they weren't talking about sleep.
Yeah, now sleep has to be
Like
optimal.
sleep, yeah.
I think Dexter used to get like 4 to 6 hours sleep a night.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't think they even spoke about sleep back then.
No, that
Literally,
wasn't
it was just,
spoken about.
It was just train hard and eat.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Even like most of those old school guys, like they just had a cheat meal once a week and then they bust their ass in the week.
Yeah.
Sometimes they train twice a day.
Yeah.
You know? I know like Cormier and that used to like train twice a day. A lot of my preps I trained twice a day.
Yeah.
Trained AM and PM. You know, weights
So if
in
you've
the
done
morning.
chest in the morning, you might do triceps.
Yeah,
at
like
night.
chest and arms at
Yeah.
night or whatever, like something like that. And that was sometimes the best that I felt I looked. Whereas now everyone wants to take the volume super low. They do like one working set. But the only one that could really have got away with that was Dorian.
Yeah.
But then I feel like Dorian's failure is another level to everyone else's
It
failure.
was crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, like you watch Blood and Guts, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But look, I was a massive fan of Dorian. I got to know him a little bit, but where Dorian, he said no one could have told me during my bodybuilding career where to back off because he goes, I was never going to listen to anyone. I was ringing Mr. Olympia.
Yeah.
But what he said was, in hindsight, now looking back at it after the tricep tear, the bicep tear, there was probably things I could have done better with the negative, and better with certain parts of the training where I probably still would have got the same result.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? And this is what, and I think I was watching one of your videos, like you said, if you do set after set after set and you want to go at 100%, it's not the best possible way. So if you were to do 3 sets, one of those sets has got to be balls to the wall.
Yeah,
right?
and then the other two are...
Yeah.
because I mean like...
They're almost like they're a tough set, but they're almost a warm up to the tough set.
Yeah, like I mean, the way I train now, I do incorporate some of the new school stuff, but I keep a lot of the old school stuff in.
Yeah.
So I might do the single arm pull downs, you know, to fire my lats up, but then I'm always going to keep the heavy lat pull down in.
Yeah.
I'm always going to keep the heavy T-bar rowing in. And I might go to a single arm slow low row because I do believe there's a time and place for it.
Yeah.
But I also believe that there's a time and place for the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think the main thing is that we've all forgotten these days is that like you're taught this specific way to train, but everyone forgets that the reason we got into training because we enjoy it.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? So even like the last few weeks, I've like the first few weeks I was overthinking my training too much, and I thought, you know what, just go in with no plan and just train how you want to train and what you enjoy.
Yeah.
So I might do some heavy stuff that my form's a little bit off, but then I'll do some slower stuff. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I think the main thing is you enjoy your training.
100%.
You know what I mean?
When you look at fitness, the fitness industry, like everyone comes in, oh, mate, am I supposed to run? Am I supposed to do this? Am I supposed to do that? What am I supposed to do? And you're right. People are forgetting the fundamentals. If there's one thing you shouldn't do is fucking run if you want to build muscle, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the number one thing everyone's running towards.
Yeah.
Running, right? You know, and you know, you can look at studies forever, and if you look at anything that matters the most is skeletal muscle mass, right? And running does the opposite of that. Increases cortisol. It is not great for building muscle. Now, if you're to run, you'd have to do it in short bursts.
Yeah, like at intervals. Almost.
Like intervals, and probably the way they were doing it in the 70s, they did run a little bit, but very, very little, very, very minimal. Do you find you get like, it's the lifestyle clients that come to you? Obviously, look, you got a certain look, so people are coming to you for a certain thing. Do you find that they're asking a lot of questions and you're going, geez, where is this all coming from?
Yeah, like a lot of my lifestyle clients have to just say, look, they're just flooded with too much information. So I just say to them, like, you should stop overthinking, you know, because they'll hear something from social media and then they'll ask the question. And I'm like, that's just caused you to overthink. And I actually put a post up the other day saying, like, where the mind is, the body follows. So if you're in a good place mentally, you know, and you're not overthinking and you're not stressed, your body will follow. Like, I've had clients who don't know, have no knowledge, and they're always the best clients.
Yes.
I was the best client myself when I had no knowledge. The worst thing for me as a bodybuilder, as I got more into it, was getting more knowledge.
It's funny, I was discussing this with my brother just now.
Literally, that is it's the killer.
Yeah.
And it's only literally this last few weeks that I thought, forget your knowledge, just do what feels right. Just go with your instinct, go with your gut, because that's what feels right. By researching this study, that study, it's just confusing you. It's just giving you, okay, should I do this? Should I do that? And I think like You just got like instinct and gut is in my opinion what has created the most champion bodybuilders. Chris, I know, works off instinct and gut and what he sees. Because sometimes when you're prepping and he tells you to do things, you think, what is going on? This makes no logical sense, but it works. And I think that's where we've got so confused now, is there's just too much information and people aren't enjoying the process anymore. They're literally just trying to find the quickest way to get there and what's optimal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just gone way out of proportion.
It's funny, like people come to this gym, and obviously we've got 82 classes: spin, yoga, Pilates, HIIT. And I always say the meat and potatoes of this gym is the weights floor,
Big time.
because everything outside of that needs the gym floor. You know, one thing I've noticed with Dorian Yates, he's massive on mobility and yoga right now. You know, mobility has become a huge thing to enhance your training.
Yeah, of course.
So you're more flexible and you can obviously work out better and make better gains. Now, looking at bodybuilding itself, right? You're a massive fan, right? Two of the guys that are now in the open were once 212.
212s, yeah.
How does that kind of excite you? Because I love watching the Olympia every year.
Yeah.
It's just a great spectacle. You know, Nick Walker, you know, just Sam Shandauda, he's looking massive at the moment.
Yeah, crazy.
I wonder what he's going to do. But this year's Olympia, it's like, you know, Derek's the reigning champion, but it's really open for a fair few guys, right?
Yeah, because I think this is, like, Derek's an amazing bodybuilder, but I think this is the first Olympia where it's not a, I mean, we had a few years, but we don't have a Phil. We don't have a Ronnie.
That's right.
We don't have a Jay.
Yeah.
Like, it's up for grabs, you know what I mean? You got like so many guys who can potentially like win that show.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's exciting because it gives so much opportunity, and the standard is so good. Like even that top 10 is like could be interchangeable. Only takes one or two of them to coming off.
Yeah.
Like we've seen Derek off, and we've seen him fall to second in the 212.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So we know anything can happen.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an exciting Olympia because you've got so many physiques up there that can just do damage.
You got the 212 over the weekend, the 21-year-old Turk.
Yeah. Very, very good.
How hard is it to go into a pro comp like that at 21 and get second?
Yeah, that's crazy because that lineup was tough.
Yeah.
You know, you had a lot of very, very good guys, and then you had Calderon, Nasser, who just won Portugal. Yeah, and he came third, I believe. So there's so many guys. So for at 21 years old to do that, it's impressive. But you can tell like his physique's so fresh.
Yeah.
You can just see his lines are so detailed. You know, he's just got a fresh looking physique.
Yeah.
And I know he's got Patrick behind him, which is a great coach as well. And Patrick puts a lot of time and effort into his guys. And you can tell that Patrick's like giving him the right information that his physique needs. He's not hammered it too much.
Yeah.
He's not pushed it too much. It's still young. It's still fresh. So he's been able to bring such a good look, you know. And I think I was actually watching a video of him on the way here, and you can tell his lines and his physique's just super fresh, you know. Because I think
how much can you overdo it? Like I was watching one of your videos where you go, I'm about to have 8 weeks off.
Yeah.
How important is it to have a break?
So important. And I've only learnt that now that I've got older, because some of my best preps and the best I felt I looked was actually when my off season was very relaxed and almost like a break. You know, I was still training and eating a lot of food, but it was relaxed. It wasn't so regimented where I'd be like, boom, 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 like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's why I've actually gone back to this approach of taking that approach again. Like now, like I said, 3 weeks ago, I was overthinking everything. And then I thought, you know what, Jay? All you need to do is eat and train. If you get a little bit fat, so what? But give your body a rest, like from not even your body rest, your mind a rest. Because like I said, where your mind is, your body follows.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like and obviously I come on holiday here while I come visiting my partner's family, and then I actually go to Amalfi Coast. So I'm thinking, why am I going to try start a strict off-season diet? There's just no point. You know what I mean? So I was like, right, as long as I eat enough protein per meal and eat enough calories, whether that's 4,000, 5,000, 7,000, 6,000, and I train hard. If I train hard as hell, I can't not put on muscle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I obviously know my metabolism, my like genetics. I struggle to get really fat. So I know I can eat a lot of food. But back in the day, when I was competing, I used to say, Chris, what do I do for off season? He said, just eat, just don't get too fat. I said, what do you mean? He said, just relax, just eat, just don't get too fat. I said, do you want me to take anything? Oh, you can take a little bit, but you don't need to take much because you can't get that much heavier. And I was like, okay. So I didn't know what to take from it. So I used to just probably get a takeaway every night.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I'd go out every night for food.
Yeah.
I'd train hard. I wouldn't. My training wouldn't change. I'd still train super intense, but it was just so relaxed. You know what I mean? And I think that's what a lot of people forget is that sometimes being so on point and so focused is actually so detrimental for your physique because you overthink everything.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't go out for a family meal because I should be sticking on my diet.
Yeah.
Or I can't celebrate this person's birthday because I should be sticking on my diet. And yes, I've seen guys progress a lot, but I also find they burn out very quickly.
100%.
You know what I mean? Whereas back in the day, Chris used to tell me, Jay after Olympia take 8 weeks off, wouldn't train, wouldn't do anything, just give his body a rest.
Yeah.
And I've been guilty of it in the past. I've been like, no, I need to be on point. But I actually felt like I started to look less fresh and my body started to get more injuries as I took that approach when I was more strict and overthinking everything. And that's why I just went, this time I thought, you know what, I'm going to do it my way, go back to basics and go with what I know has worked in the past.
You know what's interesting? Like, obviously, we kind of take it for granted, but I've been, in the industry since the 90s, but, how important is training, eating well, just for the overall mindset, being fresh like that? We take that for granted because we're coaching other people that this is absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
But, especially you've come through like, hey, this is what you got to do to get to this point.
Yeah.
When you look at Jay, when you look at Dexter, I was watching a video with Kevin Levrone as well. These guys have kept up their training. Obviously, they've downsized.
Yeah.
But Jay's like, mate, I need to train every day just for my mental health because I love doing it. I don't kill myself, but I just love training. How important is it for the general public
100%.
For everyone to train? How important is it for mental health?
Like, for mental health, like training is, I've always said, like, training is your way to escape the reality of life. Like, every time I've had a shit situation, I'll go train, I'll forget about it. Whether that's like, I remember my mum got diagnosed with cancer in 2014, and all I could do was go to the gym because when I was there, I didn't think about it. So I always say to people, like, the gym is like your sanctuary, it's like your church for a lot of us to keep us mentally sane. I think that's why COVID was so hard on so many people.
Yes.
Because in the gym, you can literally just go in and it's just you and the weights. Nothing else matters. You know what I mean? And is such an important like aspect for people to understand that like fitness and training is great for our mindset, is great for like helping people who are depressed. Not only like you get the obviously endorphins release of feeling good, but when you start looking good and you're in shape, you're gonna feel better. You're gonna like everything's just gonna be better around you, you know. But yeah, like that's such an important aspect of life in my opinion is training and routine. Like even now, like I still have my I'm technically in off season. I still have such a good routine. Like I get up in the morning and go do my cardio. If someone tells me not to do cardio, mentally it affects me. I want to get up in the morning and just do 30 minutes on the cross trainer and just move. Just move. Like and this is what I hate about like the new school and coaching. They'll be like, oh well, you know, you shouldn't be doing cardio in the off season. And I'm like, yeah, but it makes me feel good. So if it makes me feel good, everything else is gonna
be better.
Whereas you tell me no, when I wake up and I'm like, oh, I feel tired, I feel lethargic, I feel like I've not moved, then it's gonna affect the way I look because, like I said, where your mind is, your body follows. So I think that's the one thing as well with coaching a lot of guys and what a lot of coaches don't get in. I put a post up yesterday saying that a lot of coaches don't understand the importance of someone's mindset and mental state when they are coaching them.
Yeah.
They've just got their way. Okay, you don't do cardio on this day because you shouldn't, or this and this, or you've got to train this way. But what happens if I don't like training that way?
Yeah.
You know?
100%.
The mental state of a athlete or a client is the most important thing. They've got to enjoy and love every part of the process for it to benefit them. And then where the mind is, the body follows. So if they feel good, they're going to feel good. Like if you tell me, Jamie, do one all-out set, I'm going to like go out and you do 5 exercises. So I do like a bent over row, whatever. I do 5 exercises. I want to go out of that gym being like, I've not done anything because I'm so used to doing volume.
Yeah.
So if I've done volume for 15 years and someone's like, oh yeah, but high volume doesn't work. How can you tell me high volume doesn't work?
Well, it's bullshit as well because most of all of the Mr. Olympias, apart from Dorian Yates, have been high volume.
High volume, yeah.
So when people say high volume doesn't work, everything works dependent on your recovery.
Yeah.
And if you can turn up back to the gym and progressively get stronger.
Yeah, and as well, like, again, that whole point of recovery is so different from individual to individual.
100%.
Like, if you've been training, like, when I was a kid, I was in rugby, I was in sprinting, I was in football. Like, so my body knows how to recover a lot quicker than, say, someone who maybe didn't do any sport as a kid.
That's right.
Or, you know, someone who's very new to training may not have the same recovery capabilities of someone who's, like, trained like me. Like, I remember when I was in Oxygen, we would do, like, 14 exercises per body part. Like, I remember when I went to Oxygen and Ascar trained me on back, and he literally picked every single row machine, and it was 4 sets.
Wow.
And it was like, it was like no rest. It was like boom, 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 boom. You know, straight away. And I was like, I've never done so many rows in my life. I probably did like 10 different rows, you know? But my back was like, I felt it in my back. My back felt amazing. But this is what I'm saying is like, someone who's trained like that for years is going to recover a lot quicker because their body's used to it.
Yeah.
So like, this is like, again,
So it's been conditioned.
Yeah, it's been conditioned to it. Whereas this is like the whole thing now of like, oh yeah, but it's too much volume. But if you've been training that for 10 years, it's not, because like that's what your body's used to.
Yeah.
It's adapted to it. Your body's clever. So if you go down to a really low volume approach, you're probably going to feel like,
well, mentally, you like if you believe mentally it's not working and you're trying to do it, it's probably not going to work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what so many people don't understand. And again, that's why I go back to this thing of like, enjoy how you train.
Yeah.
Because I've done low volume and I'll be honest, I don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I always do it for a little bit thinking, oh, I should do it because everyone's telling me this, everyone's that. And then I always go back to where I used to train.
Yeah.
Like, even if I last 6-8 weeks on it, you know, I always go back to the way I train because that's how I love to train. And as well, like, I feel like my muscle grows. I feel like my muscles rounder when I train that way. Yeah. When I train low volume, I just felt like my muscles shrink. And maybe that's in my head.
Well, there's 2 parts to that. I mean, you enjoy the training, the high volume training, and when it has that mental aspect, then you feel better. Obviously, you're going to grow more. But in saying that, like, if someone came to you or you were like, fuck, I'm struggling today, I'm going to listen to my body. I'm going to back off a little bit today and come back again. So there's a part of you, like, as every individual, if they don't recover as fast, maybe they should back off a little bit.
And
find the sweet spot. They should all find the sweet spot.
And I think that's always almost when I understand the whole progressive overload, but when they got
look, you know, when people say progressive overload, if we were to get stronger, every human being,
we wouldn't.
So that word in itself, it's like, have you pushed that 100% today? Because you cannot keep getting stronger. If your bodybuilding career is 15 years, there's no way you've been getting stronger every year.
Exactly.
For 15 years. Otherwise, you'd be the strongest motherfucker on
the
earth.
World. Yeah, that's why, like, I understand the progressive overload approach, but I feel so many people are one-dimensional. Oh, every week I need to increase my weight. But what happens if you go into the session, you're tired? You know, you then go to do that lift and you get injured.
Yeah, 100%.
It's like, this is where, like, I think a lot of people have, like, stopped using their own mind and common sense, and they've just gone, okay, this is the only way.
Well, if you look at Dexter and even Phil Heath.
Yeah.
Dexter wasn't trying to get stronger, and he was getting better as he got older.
Yeah.
Phil Heath was never going in the gym, I've got to break a record.
No.
Neither was Jay Cutler.
No, Jay
Cutler said, I was aiming for 12 reps. Yeah. I was just aiming for 12.
Yeah, and even like, Jay trained like pretty smart. He trained hard and smart. It's just, you know, there's so many different case scenarios. You could look at Branch and Johnny, and nothing they did made sense. Like, Branch's physique was so dense. Yeah. And he was complete. He didn't have any weak body parts. And he was just grainy, hard muscle. And you watched him train and you were like, how? You know? But like, I love 100%. That. Like, I love that training.
Even like, watch some of Ronnie's videos.
Yeah.
You go, how?
Yeah. You literally, that's why.
Like he lifted heavy. Like, force is obviously going to get there. But I was listening to Stefan. He goes, everyone wants Ronnie's skin. He goes, I've hardly seen anyone with that skin.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and then people, that's what a lot of people, I think, don't understand in bodybuilding. It's like, you've got optimal, you've got this specific diet, you've got this optimal way of training, but ultimately, genetics is going to be...
Big tongue, man.
Genetics is the one.
No, 100%.
Genetics is bodybuilding.
100%.
And I it's hard for me to say it because, like, you know, sometimes you'd be like, oh, but hard work outweighs genetics, but it doesn't. Like,
it doesn't.
You can like get better with hard work, but if you don't have the genetics there in the first place, you are limited. Period. That's bodybuilding. Bodybuilding is a genetics game. Yeah. You know, like
it's like basketball, right? If you're not a certain height, you're just not going to make it.
You're just not going to make it. And it's like, you know, you've got people like who work hard and have made insane amounts of progress, and you can say, oh, they're not genetically gifted or whatever. But ultimately, the guys who are like at the top of the top are just freaks.
Yeah, they are.
You know, like look at like even like Andrew. I'm good friends with Andrew.
Yeah.
Look at Andrew. Even before he started bodybuilding, he was just a freak.
Yeah.
And now he's bodybuilding, and he's actually taking it serious. He's just getting better and better. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's
100%. Like he wasn't even taking it seriously. You watch his video.
He was chilling with Larry.
You know, it's funny. I'm listening to I was listening to his videos. He goes, I didn't even take the diet seriously for some of those comps. No. Is that how he is?
Yeah, that's how he is.
Really?
He does 6-week diet.
Far out.
Like I remember seeing him in Oxygen in Olympia gym just before, and he was like, this was just before he pulled out the show, and he was just about to start prep. And you know, like he hates taking things. Yeah. He doesn't take. He takes hardly anything.
Yeah. Because Chris has said,
and I know he takes hardly anything because Chris. I've worked with Chris. You know,
Chris was saying that as well.
And Chris is very, very light on PDs. Like I remember even when I started working with Chris, I was like, is this every day or every week? He was like, every week. And I was like, whoa, this is low.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but it works. Yeah. Because the body's fresh, the body's healthy. Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand is the fresher the body, the fresher the look, and the better everything works. A toxic body is going to fight back. Yeah. You know, a fresh body is going to be responsive. Yeah. You know? But again, we're in that day and age where everyone wants something quick and everyone thinks more is better. More. But it's usually not the case. Ultimately, genetics is the case, which no one wants to hear. You know?
Genetics has always played the biggest role. I mean, if you look at, you know, when people go, you know, Jay Cutler was working his butt off to beat Ronnie, but in 2001, arguably, he could have beaten Ronnie because he was fucking massive. Yeah. So people forget he was good way early.
Yeah, of course.
Right, and he wins he fought hard. He wins in 2006, which I thought, like he even says that 2009, 2001 were arguably his best shape. When I look at 2001, I reckon that was because his waist was even smaller. Yeah. Because over time, obviously, squats, heavy weights is going to make
and just age. You waist
age as well. Like it's hard to have that fresh.
Yeah. Once you get into your the 40s plus.
How old are you now? 30.
I'm 32.
32.
Yeah.
Fuck, you're still young, bro.
Yeah, it's like, well, I got to nail it pretty soon.
He's fucking younger than you, Kenny. How old are you now?
Almost 38.
Fucking old, Ken. I'm 48 this year. Fucking hell. I'm fucked up.
Yeah, I always think like bodybuilding, it's like your peaks between like, I'd say 30, 33, 34, 35.
No, you're still at a good age, bro.
Yeah, and all the way to probably 45, and then I feel like some start to decline. But then you got like Kamal, who won Olympia at like 51, 52. Man. You know what I mean? But he kept his body so fresh.
Even Dexter was killing it into his 40s.
Yeah.
I don't know, like if you know Albert Beckles. Albert Beckles in the early 90s, 80s was competing till his 60s. Shit, yeah. And he's from England. I think he was from England. Albert Beckles was from England. But Albert Beckles, if you go back to pumping iron, he competed in the Olympia then, and he competed into the 90s.
Yeah.
And he actually got second, I think it was in 91, 1992, well into his 60s. And I was saying, was he really honest about his age? And Lee Haney and all that came out and said he was fucking serious about his age. But what about Lee Haney? Like, I don't know if you go way back to that, but
I remember Lee.
But he won his first Olympia at 24.
He was a young.
Retired at 32.
Yeah, well, they all retired very
young back then.
Yeah. You know, I think. But then like Sean won it at 45.
Sean Roden, I know.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
But if you look at Sean, who coached him, Chris Aceto.
Yeah.
And if you look at Sean, he took it really easy in the off season.
Yeah, he was so relaxed.
Relaxed in the off
His
season.
body was so fresh.
Yeah.
And this is like one thing that you go back to. If you look at all these guys, their body was so fresh
Yeah.
when they came to dieting down.
Yeah.
You know, and then look at Sean. He got ridiculed for how
Being
out
so out of
of shape
shape he was, yeah.
Yeah, because he just used to relax and chill.
Yeah.
But then it worked for him.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, like, you've got to find what works for you
Yeah.
as well, because we're all getting taught that this is the way, this is the only way, you got to do this, you got to do
Yeah.
that. But I know for a fact, back in the day when I had a very relaxed off season, I didn't take hardly anything. When I started prepping and I cleaned up the diet, I got like, I always kept some amount of cardio in, but I cleaned up the diet, you know, and then I started taking things.
Yeah.
Everything happened quick.
Yeah.
And I'd do a 16-week prep, I'd be ready in like 8-10 weeks.
Yeah.
Because I remember I used to always go with Chris, and then I used to message him, like we always would pick a show, and it'd be 16 weeks away. And then about 8 weeks out, it's like, do you think I can do this in 2 weeks? He's like, yeah, you can be ready in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So we'd end up doing a show in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? And that's how it always was.
Yeah.
But it's just because my body was so fresh.
Yeah.
And I think that was just the way that I approached my off season.
Yeah.
You know? And I think then the problem is it's crazy because the more you get into it, the more you think you need to be more disciplined, more on point. But in fact, sometimes that mindset and that trying to be more actually makes it look worse.
Yeah.
You know?
The Olympia's not far off. A lot of the
10.5
competition.
weeks.
Yeah, 10.5 weeks. If you were to predict the top 5 for the Open, who would it be? Let's see who's going to get closer.
Okay.
But you're gonna pick the top 5. I'm gonna pick top 5. Let's see who's closer.
Okay, I'd say
From this far out.
in no order.
Yeah.
Derek, Hadi, Andrew,
Yeah.
Samson, Nick.
Well, fuck, I think the same.
So no one loses.
I think the same.
Yeah.
It's funny, man. I'm looking at photos of Samson. His legs, he looks massive.
Samson is ridiculous, but I don't think he can nail his conditioning.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't think it's a case of he doesn't work hard enough. I think it's like the skin thing.
Yeah.
And I think the more he would try to dig out his conditioning, would he lose more fullness? If Samson nails his conditioning, he wins hands down.
Yeah.
Because no one's going to touch him in terms of muscle mass.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see it. I just don't know if maybe this change from Mios is what's needed.
Yeah.
You know, because I think Mios is a great coach, especially for someone who maybe lacks size fullness. But that's
He's
not
the guy that's going to get you up
yeah,
there.
he's going to get you up there. But that's not the issue with Samson. Size fullness is not the issue.
Yeah.
Because he looks bigger and bigger every single like picture he posts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if he can nail the conditioning part, he's going to be insane. You know? And I rate Samson. I think he's one of the best, clearly one of the best bodybuilders in the world. But I think maybe this change was a good thing for him. I think sometimes what we do is, especially as athletes, we always go to the coach who thinks going to improve our strengths, but it's not our strengths we need to worry about. It's actually our weaknesses.
Yeah.
Like I remember when I competed, my conditioning was never an issue. It was being full and bursting on stage.
Yeah. Because I was seeing one of the videos, you're working on your outer sweep on your legs because you knew that was an area that needed a lot of attention in order for you to sort of have that more of that X-frame.
Yeah,
you know, going into competition.
Especially because my legs would always, when I would push too much, they would always fade off first.
Okay.
And especially when I did my last show, that's when I realized, like my legs are like usually a strong point, but that's actually when my legs went. And the crazy thing was I didn't do no cardio.
Wow.
You know?
What do you think it was? Or do you think it was the volume work?
It sounds really bad, but it's the first time I've listened to a coach 110%.
Yeah.
Like I did not miss a beat, I didn't slip.
Yeah.
And it's the worst I've ever looked.
Wow.
And I don't think it's like...
Well, let me ask you a question. Do you think it's like that added pressure you go, if I'm doing everything perfect, the body better change?
Yeah, I just think
and it was that stress.
Yeah, and it's the only prep I never did cheat meals.
Wow.
You know, so like everything that the social media and this new generation is telling me I did.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of diet and like that aspect, no cardio, dieting. My training probably didn't help because I trained very high volume, but very like unorthodox. So I actually moved to Wales to train with like 2 trainers, really good trainers. So they train me twice a day, every day. But I don't think the diet correlated to the training.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's what I learned was so important, that it has to correlate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It has
So
to
if you're
make
not
sense.
getting enough calories in and you're doing too much volume,
Yeah.
that's going to have an effect on how much muscle
or you're running
holding
flat
onto.
for too long. And I mean, I've always been someone who's needed like cheat meals. I remember when I was with Chris, like I would say to him, "Oh, Chris, like what should I do?" And he'd be like, "Oh, just do what you've been doing." Because Chris was very much that type of approach.
Yeah.
Whatever you're doing, he would just take it and manipulate it a little bit.
Kenny, you're probably wondering who Chris is. Chris is Cito, the top coach.
Yeah, he used
He's
to
the top
prep.
coach. He's been around. Jay Cutler, yeah.
Jay, Roden, Kamal.
Yeah.
And but Chris used to say that. So I remember like I used to like I remember when I did Alicante Pro, which was one of my best looks before we peaked. And I remember like on a Saturday, I would just go out and eat absolutely everything.
Yeah.
And Chris was just like, I said, should I do a cheat meal this week? He's like, yeah, do what you've been doing. Exactly the same, don't change it. I was like, okay, so it means I should eat like this every week. I remember in a week out.
It's funny, eh? Because you're trying to get this best condition you've ever gotten.
Yeah.
And you go, if I go strict, it's going to get me there. But it was the opposite for you.
Yeah.
It was like, fuck, I was way too strict.
Yeah.
I was still training well before, but I'm second
Changed my
guessing
training.
Yeah.
You know, I changed my training, changed my whole approach. Probably one of the best I looked and biggest I looked was when I prepped myself.
Yeah.
I started my prep in Oxygen.
Yeah.
And then I just ended up taking over my own prep about 10 weeks out. And I was so obsessed with being big. So I was like, I need to eat because I need to get big. I need to stay big, I need to stay big, I need to stay big. And that was one of my favorite looks. That was like a lot of the photos that I post on my social media where I'm like big, round, full. And I did my own. And I was actually meant to fly here on the Monday, and then at COVID, it was Sunday. So Sunday they cancelled all the flights, and I was going to fly me here on Monday and then compete in New Zealand on the following Sunday.
Wow.
So that's when I say like when I prep myself, it's probably one of the best I've looked.
Yeah.
But I never got to the stage because a week out, COVID hit. You know what I mean? So and then that's when I went back to Chris.
Yeah.
But it's good, like because I've learned so much on the way, and I've learned what doesn't work, so I can apply that to my clients.
Yeah.
And that's why my clients seem to always nail it.
Yeah.
And then it's funny because when like last month when I said to myself, okay, I'm gonna get back into bodybuilding, I was like, let me try work with a few coaches. Tried to work with 2 coaches, and I was like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
I just can't listen.
Yeah.
You know, if something doesn't,
Probably not after everything you've been
not
through.
after everything I've been through.
Because you've gone through a lot.
Yeah.
It's
literally.
different if you're like a novice, fair enough.
Oh
but
yeah, like if you're a novice, I think having a coach is so important.
Yeah.
And if you're a pro athlete, I think having a coach is also very important. But you also need to have a coach who actually listens. And the reality is that 99% of coaches don't
listen
these days. I mean, I've worked with a lot of the pros. I know Rob Taylor. I worked with the Real Muscle Unit. Do you know it? Barnsley Pitbull, 212, and he did open. It's quite big in the UK.
Yeah, okay.
But like Rob, I used to work with, and when I used to work with Rob, it was very much a collaboration.
Yeah.
Like Rob would send me what he was doing, or he would say, "Look, you plan it." So I'd plan it. I'd send him the plan. And say, "Look, have a look at this," and he'd send it me back, and he'd be like, "What do you think about this?" And I'd be like, "Okay, that could work." Or how about this? And we'd go like, that's how we'd work.
Okay, so it was like a collaboration.
And that's how I work with all. Even when I prepped Darren and he did the Arnolds this year, it was very much the same. Like I would be like, I think we need to refeed, but what do you think?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I think we do, but I don't think this would work. And I'm like, okay, let's not do that. Let's do this. Let's do what you think. You know, because at the end of the day, these are pro athletes. These are like, they know what works or doesn't. They've turned pro.
Yeah.
They've trained for 10 years. So who the hell am I to tell them, no, this is the only way?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like I said, it's got to work in their mind. It's got to feel good. And I think that's where I'm at that level now, whereas I struggle to find anyone where I can go back and forth with.
Yeah.
It's either their way or the highway. Yeah. They're like, oh, your volume's way too high. And I'm like, but it's worked for 10 years.
Yeah.
So who are you to tell me that now all of a sudden my volume's too high?
100%.
Do you know what I mean? And, you shouldn't do like cheat meal, eating way too much calories because it's calories in versus calories out. Like that's what it's all about now, calories in versus calories out. I'm sorry, but back in the day when I was prepping, my calories in on a Sunday would be like 15,000. So what? Now my baseline is now up to, my diet's 4,000 calories a week. I have 15,000 a week. And so now you tell me I eat 6,000 calories and I'm not, and now technically I'm not in a calorie deficit.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
It just doesn't make sense anymore. Like everyone's so concerned about, it's calories in versus calories out. We didn't even
What about the people with fast metabolisms that eat fucking Kentucky and that are shredded?
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? It's true.
It works on it also genetics and metabolism play a massive
Exactly.
role, man.
Yeah, 100%.
Play a
And it's like
massive role.
I've had it with clients, right? So they decline on the prep, and then I'm like, okay, you're lean enough now. We need to reset your calories. Yeah, so they decline, then they plateau. Now, logic would say, well, they've plateaued on those calories, you need to drop them. No, but what happens if I up the calories? Because now they're lean and the metabolism's working better. So I actually bump the calories back up.
Yeah.
And then they drop weight again.
Yeah.
But then society and the new school would say, oh, but no, they're on 3,000 calories, so now you need to take them down to 2,800. But what happens if I bump them up to 3,500 and will they drop again? Do you know what I mean? That's why,
100%.
like, it's not so simple.
Yeah, it's not.
Like, it's not always just...
It's not clear cut always.
No,
it's
it's
never,
like, it's so individual dependent.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what a lot of people...
And sometimes, like, you might see someone and you go, man, you haven't had any days off for 2 weeks. Have 2 days off.
And then they drop weight.
And then they grow and they go, fuck, I feel fresh, I'm leaner, I've dropped weight.
I literally had a client do that the other day. He was like, oh, my weight's up and I'm like, my body feels sore. I said, just take 3 days off.
Yeah.
I said, your weight will be down like 3 kilo.
Yeah.
He was 3.3 kilo down.
Yeah.
You know, after 3 days. I said, it's just inflammation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just knowing when to rest.
Yeah.
And I think that was always my hardest part, which I'm a lot better at now. Like Thursday, I came back from, I went to Coonabarron or Coona, I don't know where it was. It was like 5.5 hours in the country.
Yeah.
And we drove back and I was like, I was going to train that day. And I got back and I was like, you know what? I'm done, so I'm going to rest. And I felt so much better the next day. Whereas I know if I trained, I'd have just been dragging throughout the week.
Yeah.
I think that's where I'm a lot better now at resting. But again, the whole point of resting, I hate when someone says, oh, you need to take 2 days off a week. You need to take 3 days off a week. You need to take 1 day off a week. Man, when I turned pro, I didn't take a day off for 12 months.
Yeah.
And I turned pro.
Yeah.
You know, so...
It's how you feel.
It's how you feel.
Yeah.
I wanted to train.
Yeah.
You know, I love training. So, like, to me, being out of the gym, unless I'm like, okay, yeah, walking's hard, then I'll take a day off. But I don't think anyone should say you need to take this amount of rest. Because it's so different.
It's so individualized.
So individualized.
Yeah.
Just train how you feel. Like now my split is like I'll do like chest tries, like back buys, legs, upper chest delts, back again, legs, and I'll just keep going like that.
Yeah, rotate.
Until I need to take a day off. Now, like on Thursday, I was like, oh, my legs are still sore, I'm gonna hit legs tomorrow. Okay, I'm gonna take a day off. But like, you know, when did I train? I'm going to train back today. I trained back 3 days ago.
Yeah.
So I'm going to train again today because my back feels good.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's just so individual dependent.
Listening to your body, listening to how you feel and going off that. And then obviously working with coaches that understand, hey man, this is what we've got to adjust.
Yeah.
What's the feedback? How do you feel? And all that. It makes a huge difference. Well, fuck, Jamie. Fuck, that went quick, bro.
Was it long?
That was over an hour, bro.
Yeah.
But what I want to say is, like, obviously, I first started watching you because I was looking at your transformations, which are unbelievable. You know, I'm going to see hopefully more of you if you get back to Australia. I think
hopefully
we've sort of got a bit of a relationship now.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, you've seen my gym, you've seen what we do here. I'm going to be at the Olympia this year. I'm going with Kenny. We're going to see if we can interview.
I think I might actually be there. I don't know if I might be going with AD because I was at the Arnold's this year.
That's right. You're sponsored by AD as well.
Project AD.
So Project AD.
I don't know if they're having a booth there this year. They did last year, but I might be going just to go see it as well.
Yeah. But obviously, everyone can find you on YouTube. They can find you on Instagram.
Yeah.
And one thing that I've realised with you, and I've been watching a lot of your videos, you're passionate and love the sport of bodybuilding,
big time.
which is absolutely relatable to every single sport that we see on earth, right? Everything came from, you know, bodybuilding and weights. That's where it originated from.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We were kind of the first pioneers years ago. You know, you had Arthur Jones with Norton. I mean, you can go back in history, and it's only in the last, you know, couple of decades where it's become extremely popular. But for us, it was like first love, really.
Yeah, literally.
Right?
I remember when I started training, I started playing sport. I actually loved the gym more than I enjoyed playing sport. Yeah. That's why I went down this route.
Yeah. What sport did you play?
I used to play rugby.
Rugby, yeah. What position?
Uni. I used to play on the wing when I started.
Yeah.
And that's actually why I got into the gym because I used to play for county level, like at county level and quite high level.
Yeah.
And they said I was too small.
Yeah.
I was just quick.
Yeah.
They said I need to be bigger.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I got into the gym and enjoyed that more than I enjoyed playing rugby.
Yeah.
So I remember when I was younger, I actually like faked injuries because I hated playing.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed the gym.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'd just go train.
Yeah.
So that's how I got into it. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
And a lot of your family's back in England, Europe, Portugal. Like,
Yeah. So my parents are UK.
Yeah.
My sister's in Portugal, but my dad's actually Portuguese. My mum's Egyptian.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So
So you got the best of a lot of different worlds.
yeah. Literally.
Dubai. You've been to the States.
Yeah. So we're in Dubai at the moment, and we're maybe thinking of maybe trying to come here.
Yeah.
You know, I think we'll always go back to Dubai, back to UK.
Yeah.
But my partner's family's here, so
Yeah.
she's very close to her family. So we've been looking at places around like Coogee.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the plan is to maybe come back November, December,
Yeah.
and spend a few months here, and then probably head back to Dubai for the winter there because it's nice, and then just see where everything takes us with shows and all that. Because I'll probably look to do a show. I want to say mid to end of next year.
Yeah.
Just gives me time. After 6 months off, I want to get back to where I was.
Yeah.
And just enjoy the process
Yeah.
while I'm doing it. Just enjoy the training and just not think too much. Just
I love
enjoy it.
that, man. Every time I get a guest on, like you pick up certain things, but like we got a lot of clients here, and you're right. Enjoy the process.
Yeah,
I think
because when it's taken away from you,
yeah, man.
if you think, man, I can't ever do this again in my life, then you learn to just enjoy it all.
Yeah.
Same with like the whole like food thing.
Yeah.
Like even with the diet now, like I get breakfast every morning by the beach.
Yeah.
I just have four slices of sourdough, 4 poached eggs, either some egg whites, smoked salmon, and some jam.
Yeah.
And just like, I don't even know how many calories that is,
Yeah.
but it feels like it's a good amount to eat.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I eat that, and then pre-workout, I eat a good amount. Like even my pre-workout today, I just do like 2 scoops of cream of rice, 2 scoops of whey, 1 banana. Again, I don't know what calories it is. After training, 2 scoops of whey, banana. Then I'll go to, I think is it your restaurant down there?
It used to be.
Oh, okay.
But I'll tell you the story after.
But I went there and I just got chicken, sweet potato.
Yeah.
And then at night, I'll just get like...
I seen that on your stories
Yeah, I
yesterday.
went to...
I'm fucking hungry. I feel like I got to go there and get it
I went
myself.
to Marcella's.
Yeah, Marcelleria.
Yeah.
That's a good joint,
It's
man. in
great,
Bondi.
great. Yeah,
man.
great. So I went there, just got 3 chicken thighs, some sweet
Yeah.
potato fries, and then go back home, have a granola, some Greek yogurt, and some whey.
Yeah.
And then I don't even know how much I'm eating.
Yeah.
But it feels like it's a good amount.
Yeah.
And then if I weigh myself, I weigh myself yesterday, I was like, oh, I'm not actually that heavy. Okay, I need to eat more.
Yeah.
It's so simple, isn't it? It's like we've overcomplicated such a simple sport.
Yeah, 100%.
Just eat and just train hard and enjoy it.
Yeah.
That's just like my philosophy about it all now.
Yeah.
And even when it comes to prep, it's going to be the same concept.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'll have to like make sure I weigh things and make sure it's on point. But my plan is to, when I prep, is just prep myself, start far out, like 18 weeks out, and then just roll with it and enjoy it. Enjoy the process.
Yeah.
Not this over.
Thanks a lot, Jamie. I appreciate it, man.
No,
and
no problem.
for those that want to get coached by a great coach, I've seen these transformations. Follow Jamie. We'll put the links up
Perfect.
on Instagram, YouTube. You can find him everywhere. That's how I got to know him. But, man, it was great talking to you about the whole process. And I just want to thank you for being here, brother.
Thank you, bro. Thank you very
Hopefully
much.
we'll see you
and
more.
hopefully I'll be back in Australia soon.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, brother.
Thank you.